Welcome to the future of Israel and the Jewish people. I am B.J. Harvey, your host, and these are two esteemed friends of mine, Tom McGuire. Hello, Tom. Thank you again for coming. And Luciano Pisco. We are left off last time on chapter 5 in Matthew with a new book, simply because the fact is we finished the Old Testament and where the Messiah was, is, and what it was spoken of him. And now we're in the new book called Matthew that we Jews don't know about. And this is a learning facility for new books and new messiahs. Consequently, when we were in chapter 5 and just got here, Yeshua himself said, this is going to be a long dissertation. Please sit down as he has done, and they followed. So therefore, it is up to us to continue what we say is the beginning of a new translation and a very exciting book. So we start with really chapter 5, as I said, and verse 20, of which the first 20, number 20, is of murder. So Tom, would you like to read the first verse 20?
Yeah, I think it's 21. Mine starts at 20, about murder. It said, as you have heard, it was said to the people long ago, do not murder. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka, is answerable to the Sanhedrin. But anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell.
That is, needless to say, we're all in trouble when that happens, because what has led to just the newspaper that you brought in, it happens today to such a disgusting situation. And I'd like you to read that situation to us, please.
And you're talking about the shootings at the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And I shared this prior. This was an article in the newspaper today, and it's a Jewish nurse. It said, I treated the suspect. Now it's a male nurse who treated the person who shot and killed 11 in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. A Jewish nurse who treated the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting suspect says that he saw confusion but not evil in the man's eyes, and that his own actions stemmed from love. I'm sure he had no idea I was Jewish. Registered nurse Ari Mahler wrote in a Facebook post Saturday about suspect Robert Bowers. Robert Bowers was the shooter and was wounded, was taken to the hospital, and this is the male nurse that treated, knowing that he's the one that killed 11 of, and Ari is Jewish and killed 11 Jewish family, not related, but because they were both Jewish. Robert Bowers, who was taken to Allegheny General Hospital after October 27th rampage at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. Mahler described, Mahler, it's M-A-H-L-E-R, however you pronounce it, described his role as the Jewish nurse who treated the suspect, saying that he felt nervous about sharing his account, but that I just know how I feel alone right now, and the irony of the world talking about me. He wanted to come out and say something because the news was reporting some things, but not from his own lips. He said, I didn't say a word to him about my religion, Mahler said in the Post. I chose not to say anything to him the entire time. I wanted him to feel compassion. I chose to show him empathy. I felt that the best way to honor his victims was for a Jew to prove him wrong. And that's really the Messiah and the Yeshua, how he's telling us to act, asking us to act in this situation that is as horrible as this is. This is the character of God that we're trying to talk about, where there is forgiveness,
Yes.
and there is compassion, and there is understanding. Instead of, hang them, kill them, it's, let me, if everybody walks out of the room, let me choke them, and this nurse. So let me go on to Bowers 46, pleaded not guilty Thursday to 44 count grand jury indictment charging him with murder, hate crimes, and then the Ari Mahler, who Facebook page noted he started his job in the hospital emergency department March 1st, said he didn't see evil in Bowers' eyes, but a clear lack of depth, intelligence, and palpable amounts of confusion. And this is interesting because we happen to be in Newtown right now, and when the people were shot, the children, the teachers at Sandy Hook, I am not at liberty to say who, but somebody that I know was in the building and looked into the eyes of the shooter. And I wrote an article in the newspaper after this happened because everybody asked why. And I said, this is evil. If you didn't believe in evil, this is evil, and you could see it in their eyes. And this fellow said, I know, I saw it. He looked into the shooter's eyes, and he saw evil. Now, in this article, he didn't see evil. He saw confusion. He said he couldn't go into detail about due to medical privacy requirements, and showing him kindness and for treating him the same way that I treat every other patient. And the thing that came to me, and there's some other things in here, but what came to me when this happened, we talked about this briefly, was today we're talking about post-traumatic stress and trauma. And it's related to when you were in the Korean War, and we heard some of your stories, not here, but privately. And that was, people come back from war and they just kind of just deal with it. Or a lot of them went to the bottle and they drank, and they had other vices, whatever was going on. I don't believe, and I don't know of, that any of the Jewish people, generations who went through the Holocaust, they never diagnosed this as trauma or stress to be healed and dealt with. It was just, let's get on with our lives. And when this happened, that's what came to my mind. They've been dealing with this, the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren all know. So as soon as this happens, it triggers what went on. And you think it's gone, or you think you forget about it for a while, but instantly it comes right back, and you're Jewish, and it comes back to your mind. And there needs to be, I believe, some healing, and I believe only God could do it, to the Jewish people over the trauma and the post-traumatic stress of the Holocaust. And it goes back to the beginning. If you read, they were always trying to kill the Jewish people. But the Holocaust was so horrific. You can't even explain it other than it's just, that is what evil does. It comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And it not only steals, kills, and destroys from that particular moment, but it goes generational. And everybody lives with that fear. And when we pray at church for healing, we ask God to bring healing into the soul, to the spirit of that person from the time of conception. And I believe only God can do it. And one of the reasons we're here is because we're trying to get people to read the Bible and to investigate and to know who God is, if there's a God, which we believe, and who he is and what is his character, what is he about. And I believe he's a loving, compassionate, and just as this nurse had done, showed compassion and love in those circumstances, is what he wants us to do. And I believe they said in Newtown it was about, you know, love is going to win. And here he's saying, I want to show love, and love is going to overcome evil, and that's biblical.
Well, the rabbi was the same kind of person, as he said, going against evil, the same way evil came against us is no way. We got to show love.
The only way to overcome
That's
it
right.
is evil. And that's when you read the Bible, that's what you know and understand, and then have to ask God for help, because I think this is supernatural for somebody to do this. I think that's the Spirit of God that's in this person that allows them to treat somebody when they did something so horrific,
Well, it's true.
and to show that love and to show that compassion. And this, his father was, the nurse, his father was a rabbi. And he said, it says he experienced, in the rest of the article, it says he was a rabbi and he experienced anti-Semitism a lot as a kid, and he acted out of love. Love, that's why I did it, he said. Love as an action is more powerful than words, and love in the face of evil gives others hope.
Wonderful.
Is that,
That is from
it
God.
demonstrates humanity. It reaffirms why we're all here. I could care less what Robert Bowers thinks. But you, the person reading this, love is the only message I wish to instill in you. If my actions mean anything, love means everything.
That's
And this is right out of here. What I don't know what he believes, his father was a rabbi or where he stands, but that is the ultimate, and that's who God is. And God even forgives the shooter. He forgives the shooter in Newtown. And you know, I talk to people and going into prison and working with people, and they say, I don't know how you could do that. They deserve to be in there. They should die. They should, you know.
Sure.
But God is a God of mercy and love. And he will, if you come to him, he will forgive you whatever you've done.
That's a wonderful motivation for the next situation we come to. How about you, Lou?
It's amazing how a murderous act like that transcends not only ethnicity, but also gender. Aside from this incident in that region in Pittsburgh, we had heard also that several black men in Chicago got shot, I believe the same day or the day after. I had come across an article on the Friday that Coptic Christians were gathering in Egypt and they got slaughtered. And this is in an Islamic State. So you would think that in the nation of Egypt, when there would be a good percentage more of the Muslim majority for the population, you still have Coptic Christians that still have their own region for worship. So you think to yourself, you know, and this could even be for some Jews that are listening to us, there is harm that's going to affect both Christian and Jew, brother and sister. It doesn't matter the gender or the ethnicity. Evil is straight evil. As the Jew is afflicted, so is the Christian and the Eastern Orthodox faith, no matter where you are. But to overcome evil, as we recently read, is you've got to counteract it with love. And one of the most powerful elements of love is that it washes away no matter the color of your skin or your background. If I recall, after reading this, I went to go back into an article from USA Today that spoke more in depth about the incident in Pittsburgh, and it said that 40% of the attendees of that temple were non-Jew.
Wow.
So you would think to yourself, wait a minute, it's a Jewish temple. You would think the congregation would be predominantly Jewish, and yet USA Today says 40% of the attendees were non-Jew. And now here is this gentleman in the hospital who is a Jew treating the shooter with the same compassion that everyone that attended the temple had. So it's amazing how so many of us, you know, you would think we become formatted. You know, a Catholic just goes to a Catholic church, a Protestant just goes to a Protestant church, and a Jew just goes to temple. But we're seeing more different denominations and different faiths coming together, no matter the church, no matter the denomination, and they're worshiping together. So this right here, to me, is a sincere eye-opener to say, I don't care where you worship, let's worship together. I don't care if you're Jew and I'm Catholic, or you're Protestant who hasn't even gotten to know God yet, but you've had God in your life for several years. Let's still go together and spend an afternoon in worship together to get to know the same God that everybody else knows. So this, to me, I feel, is not only something harmful, but it's a doorway that it will draw others closer to worship. Look at all of us as a nation when 9/11 happened. You know, in a major city that not only do we have multiple ethnic groups, but multiple faiths. And yet something tragic aligned all of us together under our flag, but under the banner of hope, that we locked in shoulder to shoulder to fight evil. And it wasn't like evil had, you know, let's pick a particular color or a particular face or even a particular ethnic group. It was just love locking shoulder to shoulder to combat evil straight on, you know, straightforward. When we look at the parables, not only in Matthew but in the coming chapters, the amount of love poured through the blessings are literally not only a physical force, but I think a spiritual force to combat evil. So as we're going into these verses and the way it's aligning with the last 2 weeks that we've seen as tragedies in our world, it's not a coincidence at all.
Well, that leads to what you brought in last time. You brought in that Bible that we taught, and now it's time for your commercial. Really? Of people
My commercial.
having,
You know, the one thing I wanted to just get this. The one thing I wanted to share, and the love word goes around, and you know, the question also is, what is love? And this speaks to it, but love in the Bible is discipline. It's not, love is not you could do whatever you want. Anything you want is okay. Anything is acceptable. And the worst, love means discipline. If you have children and you don't discipline your children,
you don't love them.
you don't love them. And as much as they hate it, much as they dislike it, what you're telling them, because God created us, their spirit, is that I care enough about you to tell you to stop doing this because I've got something better for you. You're better than this. So this love comes out and could get very distorted in society in different areas because it means anything goes. God gave us 10 commandments for a reason. And he did it because he loves us. He didn't give us laws because he wanted us to not have fun or not enjoy life. He gave it to him because he knew if we got out of that riverbank, if we got out of that boundary, there was going to be consequences. And they're not going to be good. They're not good for us, and he wants the best for us. So it's a deeper issue, and it gets more complicated than that. But love could be also taken to be very distorted of what people think love is. So when you read this, you find out the heart of God and how much he does love us. And he does discipline us because it's going to be better for us in the long run.
Well, how can we transcend that kind of feeling of love to our Jewish brothers? And I think that's why you have that commercial. That is.
That's why we're here. You know, we're doing this because God changed us.
Yes, very much so.
And you know, I want to see people have the best life. We're going into the next one. They talk about adultery. You know, you commit adultery, it's going to leave a train wreck. We've been around long enough
To
We
know
weren't
that.
perfect. We've seen people, and it's going to destroy your life. It's going to ruin you. God says, hey, don't do this because it's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt everybody else. So what we're trying to do here is motivate people to give this a shot. And as you asked to do, and it's funny because it shouldn't be on here, but look at the headlines of this. This is Consumer Report. Dear cable TV, you're fired. Wrong place to be. We're at Spectrum. And I just happened to look at it, and I said, boy, this is, cable's going to be around for a while, guys. But, look at insect repellents that really work. This is what people get, and we got to find out what insect repellents are really going to work. These are the headlines, and I love Consumers. I read it all the time. Make over your laundry room. Healthiest fast food breakfast. You know? Cable TV. Shrink your cable costs. Customize your channels. We got to stay away from that. Then we got reviews and ratings on a Volvo XC40 refrigerators, smartwatches, washers, and dryers. Everybody checks this out.
Sure.
They look it up.
They should be able to put the top 10 Bible verses to read daily in there.
It should. And
Good idea. Good. Very good.
And this is a daily Bible that in 15 minutes a day, you get this. It's all set up for you. And in 1 year, you've read the Bible. And you could let what we believe is a living word, the Word of God that is in here, speak to you and make a decision based on knowledge, not based on what you think or what you've heard or what somebody else says or what your crazy uncle says about it, but you can make a decision. And you'll do that for everything, including insect repellents that really work, but not about God. And we want to get you to read this. Don't take our word for it. And as a matter of fact, this tells you to judge the word. But you base it on this. This is our. If you buy whatever you buy, it comes with a booklet. Sometimes the booklets are huge. You get a navigation system in your car, and you've got, 150 pages of how to work.
It's true.
Well, God created us, and He said, "Here's my word. Read it, so you'll know." And that's the pitch. It's not about listening to us. It's not about going to the synagogue and listening to the rabbi or going to a church and listening to the minister or a priest. It's about doing that and also reading this, because then you know what somebody's telling you, if it's true or not. And you could find out if you don't believe that, because one of the things that people come back with, wow, it's whoever wrote this and it's not true. And you hear, we've heard all the stories about it. Well, read it and find out for yourself, and then you can come back and have an intelligent conversation about something. And I believe if you read this, it's going to speak to you. It's practical. It's about going to court. One of the next ones is coming up. It says if you're going to court, settle matters quickly.
Right.
Because the judge may come and nobody's going to like what the judge is going to say, and that's what and the judge will tell you. He say, listen, one of you guys is going to be unhappy. Go work something out. And that's right out of the Bible. That's what it tells us in the next verse over here. Work something out, because somebody's going to be unhappy if I have to make a decision. And a good judge will never make a decision, because the two parties will work it out.
Right.
And that's what he wants you to do. So there's such practical knowledge about everything, a little bit better than Consumer Report, I think.
Yes.
Because we do want to have the perfect laundry room,
Yes.
I'm sure, right?
It's to keep us clean. That's for sure.
It's amazing that the Bible is, when you look at the word Bible itself and the acronym of it, it's basic instruction before leaving Earth.
Very good.
So you look at that and you're saying, well, if Scripture is the judge above everything, the basic instructions before I leave the earth is, as long as I follow this, I'll be fine. It's our own spiritual Consumer Report.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure.
If people are watching this, talk to your rabbi. and ask him to pray and deal with this post-traumatic stress and trauma that's from the beginning of time, but mostly from the Holocaust. Because
Yes.
I don't believe it's been dealt with, and I've talked to people about it, and nobody has ever put that together as they did with the war, with the veterans that come back. And this is fairly new. Nobody really talked about this
Right.
until, I don't know how many years, but it's fairly recent that this has been, you know, trauma, post-traumatic stress, that it came out and they could deal with this.
Well, this is brand new thought of how and to deal with something like that. And that's to be taken up some other time. At any rate, we just were told that we come to the end of our program.
All right.
And in this situation, I want to thank you very, very much, both of you, for coming today. And I think we'll go do it again next program.
And you asked me to wear a tie this time, and you know, I haven't gotten a check for the last one either, so I'm still waiting. And the tie's going to be extra
Oh,
on that, so
I
when you
see.
send a check out, you put a little extra in there, because I put this tie on. I didn't know how to do it.
Wait a minute, he gets paid? Where's mine?
But we thank you both for coming. We thank you for listening. If you would like the pin I am wearing, please get to our futureofisrael.org so with your name, address, telephone number, and zip code. We will send it to you absolutely free. If you take a close-up of that, Mr. Director, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much for listening. See you next program. Shalom.
And the one, let me just share this. The one-year Bible is it's called New Living Translation, which I like, and quite a few people do. And you could get that at Amazon. And the NLT, it's called NLT, and they have a large print version. Because
for
for some
older
reason,
people
when
like
you get
us.
older, the print gets smaller. I don't
Oh,
know.
I-
I haven't figured it out yet. I don't know why, but it does that. But they have a large print version, and it's a lot of fun. It's just good, practical fun, and happens to be the most important decision we can make in our life.
And that's for everyone. Again, shalom, peace. Bye-bye.